Hello, my name is Rex, and I'm here with Paris, the guy who actually owns the channel, and we're here to talk about Steam Next Fest demos. If you don't know what Steam Next Fest is, and I'm surprised you don't, it is when a bunch of games release a bunch of demos at once to talk about games that are coming up in the future, and a lot of them are worth looking at. However, there's too many to actually functionally look at. I think, what was it, like a couple thousand that got released this?
Oh, if you open the sell page, there's 5,400 demos.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what we did was we tried to play through the ones that actually looked interesting and catalog which ones were worth your time, so that way you know what to play, and if the demos are still up, you can give a shout out.
The first game I'd like to try is Sword Hero. It looks very fascinating. It's mixing a lot of the different aspects of a bunch of different game series that I like. There's a lot of aspects of like Thief and Mordhau and Gothic and Morrowind. There's just so much stuff in there that reminds me of other things.
I was going to say, the thing I liked a lot about the demo is it does a really good job at setting the pace in that, or I guess setting what the game is going to look like, in that the game is probably going to hate you. You have very limited health, and when you die in the demo, you have to restart the demo from the very beginning. So if you get all the way to the last wave and then die, you're restarting the demo.
Yes, yeah. Design-wise, it reminds me most of Gothic, both because of how it looks and like how hard it feels. It's giving German RPG vibes.
I also like how so many, like, you can get the feeling that a lot of the immersive sim elements you can feel just from the demo. So yeah, you get gold every round you survive in the arena, but you can also loot enemies. There's stuff in the shop that you can loot. You can try to rob the shopkeeper. I never have won that fight. There is one chest that you can lockpick. There is a single herb in the room that lets you know about, like, its crafting or its healing system. There's so many, like, just little tidbits that hint at wider systems in the world when the game fully launches, that you can basically just get a taste for in the demo.
And if you're looks interesting, and I'll definitely watch the trailers. There's a lot more hinted in the trailers than the demo, because the demo is literally just what it's titled. It is a combat demo, and there is not much else outside of that. It's a very good combat demo. But I'm more excited for, like, the lore and the world building. Like, they have steampunk things and trains and AIs and stuff, but in, like, a medieval peasant world.
It's, the genre is post-apocalypse, so it's after the post-apocalypse.
Or they're coming back.
Yes, there are trains and other things running. Like, one of the enemies you fight in the arena are the Greys, like the aliens.
The Greys.
Holy shit, it's so funny. So there's that mixed into a traditional medieval setting. So there's, like, dragons and, like, everything's medieval. But there's hints at, like, a wider world that was, like, hundreds of years in the future before it all came crashing down. And now it's, like, hidden tech lost in ancient ruins. And it's like, oh, here's a mechanical arm. Like, it's just...
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it so much.
And it's not just, like, the Elder Scrolls games where it's, like, you'll find a random machine that does nothing useful at the bottom of a dungeon, like, every 20 hours. This one, like, has a lot of technology all over the place. And so it's a lot more, it feels a lot more like steampunky, I feel. Because there's a lot more stuff going on. Mostly the trains that are going everywhere, and people have, like, robotic arms and stuff. It's really cool.
So, and the combat, I think it was one of the few demos where after I wouldn't say I completed it, but after I got my fill and took my notes on it, I went back and kept playing it over and over to try to get further and further. It's a very good feeling demo with both its magic, ranged, and melee systems.
Yeah, for every demo, like, there are too many demos, so I set a time limit for these demos, and this one I was like, okay, I'm gonna give myself 1 hour, and I played it for 5 hours.
Oh god, I didn't do that much, but... It has directional input, so the games I prefer are stuff like Mordhau, where depending on how you move the mouse left or right or up or down, that's how you swing. This one is what you input in movement. So if you move to the left, you'll swing on the left. If you move forward, you'll lunge forward. So there's that.
The directional combat system it's somewhere in between Mordhau and Morrowind. Because Morrowind also had that aspect of, like, what direction you're moving in is what attack animation you're going to do. And it feels somewhere in between those two, but it does feel like those two.
I also appreciated there was a special meter that built up as, like, when you landed hits, including when you parry. So there's a huge incentive to parry. So that way you can build up your special, which oftentimes is just a big kick that launches enemies across the arena and stuns them while they're down. So I would just kick someone in the balls, launch them across the arena, and either they'd hit a spike wall and die on impact, or I'd then just like stab them on the ground while they were trying to get up.
Yeah. I was enamored with the parrying system. I love games where you can parry. I love just having a button that lets me deny the enemy everything. It's so good. But you have to be very skilled at using it because, like, oh my god.
Yeah, you don't want to get stun locked.
Yeah, because like you have like is it called a poise meter in Souls-like, where like a stamina bar or something like that, that like goes down every time you parry, so you can't just infinitely parry like you're playing Shadow of Mordor or something, but there's enough there to have me hyped. Aside from the trailers, like just the demo itself has me hyped. The trailers sent me to the fucking moon.
Alright, so next on the list is going to be one of my shoutouts, which was Menace. Paris, you didn't try Menace at all, did you?
I did. I opened it, and I opened the UI, and I saw how complex it was, and I pressed skip over and over until I got in-game, and realized it was like a XCOM-like, and I just exited immediately and uninstalled, because there's nothing wrong with it, to be fair. That's not for me.
The demo is rough, because the devs literally put a warning, hey, we haven't tutorialized anything, and this is every system we want in the game being thrown at you at once. Good luck. Oh
yeah, the first thing it shows you when you open the game is here's a link to the documentation for the game. It's there's nothing, no explanations. Yeah, it's like a old video game where you have to read the paper guide.
So people do just explode into a mist of like gore, and will give like callouts. In between you moving your units, you can like, man, I don't know how to describe. It kind of reminds me of the board game Crossfire, because when you shoot at units, they get pinned down, where they can't really fight back or move back because they have such an AP penalty. But it, like action points, because you have a limited number of points that you can spend while doing certain actions.
Okay, gotcha.
But where it gets complicated is you can then add, each unit, I'm going to bolster the amount of troops around this central unit. What gear and equipment do I want to give him? What are the perks that I want to give the unit? Okay, now that we've gotten all that, what weapons do I want to give him? And the weapons do function in different ways. What you then have a vehicle system where it's like, okay, I want an armored carrier group. What weapons do I want on the armored car, and what types of armored cars do I want? And they are also brutal, because you can just drive through enemy fire, just everything's being plinked off until you didn't see around the corner through Fog of War. There is a rocket-propelled truck. It just fires into you, and it's one of those games where if you really like Battle Brothers and you really are looking for an XCOM-like game that has a lot of complex depth in a system where you're kind of exploring this big world as you're moving your units around, because the point of these types of games is that you're slowly building your troop to go do more and more dangerous missions, like you're making a name for yourself, and that's the part that I'm eagerly awaiting to see how they tie in these mechanical systems. But they're really just trying to show off is our mechanics feel good, therefore this is the core gameplay loop that should get you invested when we add all the deeper stuff, which is what I primarily look for in those types of games. So it was a great way to show off what the game's going to play like, so you can find out if you're going to like it, but I'm excited for the full release because that's what I really like digging my teeth into.
I gotta say, every time someone mentions a truck in a game like that, I'm like, they got the Toyota Hilux with the RPG on the back? Yo. We will never escape the Toyota War.
God bless the Toyota War. And with that, on to the next game.
Alright, the next game I wanted to talk about was a game I was very much not expecting to enjoy. It's called Jackal. It is very much like a Hotline Miami game, and it looks a lot like Hotline Miami, but it's 3D, but it's still isometric. I was not expecting to like this game because I did not like Hotline Miami. It just kind of felt eh, and there wasn't much story or cutscenes or anything going on there. In this game, you're playing like a isometric like assassin where you have to go through rooms and just like slaughter everyone that fights back. Essentially, it's a lot of fun. In this case, because all the actions feel like there's like weight behind them. Like when you grab a crowbar and whack somebody with it, it feels like you're doing an action that looks like what you're doing on screen. In Hotline Miami, there were a lot of actions where you'd like press the button and it like didn't feel like you were doing anything important. But in this game, it feels good and it looks amazing. And then the part that really got me, like saying this is like a 10 out of 10, like this game is peak, are the cutscenes.
The man at the blackjack table splits aces. Then splits realities. Is he my contractor or is he my target? Oh, they're arm wrestling with the in my bloodstream. I excuse myself to the toilet for spiritual advice.
Kill him,
My associate says.
questions are for philosophers and cops. You're neither.
I guess some decisions are better made through the barrel of a gun.
Man, the vibes are immaculate. Oh my god.
It is just Fear and Loathing, the video game, but also, aside from the myriad amount of drugs that the main protagonist on, I think at one point he talks about being on, let's see. You also are,
You know I'm gonna censor that, right?
okay, I guess you can't. Okay, sure, whatever. You're also tagged along by the God of Death, and you get mad Egyptian powers on top of it for no reason. And it's like, why is this a figment of this guy's imagination? I don't fucking know, but it's baller and I like it.
I believe it is Anubis. I don't think they ever name him. I don't think they ever name which god it is specifically. So it is a Egyptian god with the head of a black jackal. And he's wearing this like loud pink pimp outfit with like a bunch of like golden accessories. He looks so cool, dude. Oh my god. And the cinematography of the cutscenes, for almost every cutscene in the game, you can see his entire body except for his face. His face is just cut out because they're just doing camera angles like crazy. It is so cool. Like I when we were voice chatting, when we were streaming about it, I was just sitting there just like saying peek over and over and over because I'm a moron. And it's so, oh my god, it's so cool. It looks so pretty.
So you have like the God of Death who's guiding you into like, don't worry about it, don't think about it, just murder. Your main character is tired, strung out, and almost barely able to focus and understand what's going around. But what he can do very well is kill. And you're fighting a bunch of thugs and gang members and corrupt police officers and an alligator. So what's there is enough to keep you engaged, and by the end of the demo, you're like, how the f is this train wreck going to resolve itself? And that's what really kept me coming back to it. Aside from the fact that it just felt really nice to sink a crowbar into someone's head.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And the art style and the way they do the cutscenes, where like a lot of them show like in a lot of the cutscenes they put like giant subtitles on the screen where instead of playing the entire sentence at the same time, they say word by word. And so you're reading along one word as he says it. It's perfectly timed, it's perfectly synced. Like it adds so much to the vibes. You know, everything is just right about this game. This is another game where I said, well, to begin with, first I said I won't like this, and then I loved it because I completed the demo on my Steam Deck and then replayed it on my computer just to record higher quality footage. And then I like played a little more of it. And I'm like, okay, I gotta wait for the game. But like I replayed it. I wanted to replay it, which is impressive for demos. I've been like playing Next Fest demos for years, and
Skips the ceremony.
I've never had demos that I've wanted to replay. I usually just wait for the game to come out. And this time we have a couple that I've replayed, which is, it's weird. It's weird. We have a lot of good stuff this year.
Yeah, I had a great time with it too. I didn't know it was even going to be in this next Fest demo. I watched a whole silent playthrough because the cutscenes just had me so enamored when you sent me the link, and I was like, oh, okay, I should play this myself, and it felt exactly like how I thought it would, and it's great. So Jackal should be on your, to keep an eye out for list if you enjoy high violence and just...
His heart weighs heavy. Lust and lies tip the scales.
Maybe skip the moral breakdown.
The next game I wanted to get to was a very tiny game, but a very fun game. Also very beautiful. It's a game called Slots and Daggers. It is a RPG battler, but your actions are dictated by like a slot machine. And so you have these 3 slots in front of you that you can select like a list of options that could show up in there, and then you just fight through bosses. It's like a boss rush. It is like a slot machine roguelike. It's exactly what that sounds like. But it's very cool, and every time there's an action, like it does that slot machine like coins jingling noise, and every action feels like it has weight behind it because of the sound effects are really amazing. Risk a lot. I mean, it is a gambling game technically. I just don't know what to say about it. This was another one where I finished the demo, and then I played it again, and then I played it again. I played it enough. You see in the videos that are on screen, there's like 5 slots, and you start out with 3. You have to play for hours to unlock each slot. At least in the demos. I don't know how it's gonna be in the real game. And I unlocked both of the extra slots. I played this game for a very long time.
This is one of those games that is going to live or die based on its game feel.
Yeah.
Because without that, this game literally has nothing.
Yeah.
But if it succeeds at what it's trying to do, it will be probably the next big streamer game.
It has promise. It has promise. I looked at it, I was expecting absolutely nothing from this game. I went in expecting this game to be garbage. But I tried it because it looks very pretty. I'm a sucker for good pixel art. And it feels amazing. And it's not just, okay, you have slot machines that like select what action you're going to take, but most of the actions depend on you having like reflexes also. So for example, you have a bow that like randomly moves across the screen, and you have to have the reflexes to like click on it when it's aiming at the enemy. Or like you have a sword that does damage depending on how high the randomly moving bar goes. And stuff like that. There's not much I can say about it. It just feels amazing. It is a very simple game, I'll give you that, but it does have promise.
Alright, next in the list is going to be Motorslice. So, how would I even describe Motorslice? It is a action platforming RPG. Kind of reminds me of Nier in a lot of its like themes and presentation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But the gimmick is that you do a lot of the actions, whether it be platforming or combat, with a chainsaw. So you can use your chainsaw to like slice through enemies, or stab a wall and ride the wall up or across with the chainsaw, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's very, there's a lot of actions here that are just like going by the rule of cool. There's so many things where like you look at it and you understand exactly what's about to happen. You're like, they're not gonna do that. That would be stupid. And then you do it and it's like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It feels good to snap onto platforms. It feels good when you're, because there's a lot of high jumps. So if you roll when you land, you get to continue momentum, which is important so that you don't just jump into combat and immediately get fucked. So you're trying to stay fast. You're trying to use your combat abilities like dodging, locking on. It's very simple combat. Most enemies die in a couple hits in the demo, aside from like I think there's a boss at the end. I never got that far because unfortunately I struggled with FPS issues. It would run well enough, and then randomly it would constantly fluctuate between 60 and 20, just pinging back and forth. So I did struggle with that, but Paris did not.
Yeah. No, mine was completely fine. It ran perfectly fine on the Steam Deck. It ran perfectly fine on Parasite on my computer. Like, it ran perfectly for me. So I wonder if it just runs better on Linux. I don't know. I will say, I would have to disagree with combat being simple. Combat is technically simple on paper, but this game's mobility system is incredibly complex. If you integrate the movement into the combat, like I was doing like trick shots, dude. I was like bouncing off the walls and like chain sorting people across the map because of how much momentum I had. Like it was so much fun. And the combat is complex as you make it, essentially. I think it is simple on paper, but you can just make it more fun. You know? And I hope they add more movement mechanics and more combat mechanics because, oh my god, this is fun.
Also, if I was a gambling man, which I'm not because I didn't do the Slots and Daggers demo, but if I was, I would put my money on this being the next waifu game.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of what I think the internet is going to obsess over. I think it's very cute when you leave, the girl waves at you on the title screen. I don't like that if you miss a fall, she crunches and splatters into a pile of gore. I don't like that. That makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
You can turn off the gore.
Oh, you can turn... Interesting. I completely still that.
I was trying to fix the FPS settings, and I found that setting, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I don't have to be creeped out every time I miss a jump.
No, I want more. I want more. Give me more.
Gore?
Yeah, it's cool.
Of the character?
Okay, now you're making it weird.
Oh, another detail, when she gets into combat, oil splatters all over her, so it feels like it would be something out of an M-rated movie as she, like, slices through a character and blood spills all over her. But it's a robot, and that's basically just a little miniaturized, like, Tonka crane construction robot, and it's oil, so it doesn't matter. But it's very cathartic and makes combat feel just a little bit more exciting, just purely on those like little details, which Motorslice does very well, especially with like its platforming.
You can find locations where you can start dialogue trees with the character, because you're not playing as the character, you're playing as the little robot following her. You are an actual camera recording this, what's going on. Like, you're not playing as the character, you're playing as the camera.
I'm not sure how well that's going to weave into the story, because I felt kind of weird.
Yeah.
In that I would, like, control the character and then jump to not control... I don't know how I necessarily felt about, like, the Ludo narrative of that, but I don't know, maybe it'll pull it off.
Since you're a separate character, you can talk to her and have, like... It's like a whole, like, I feel like I want to say it's like a dating sim mechanic, where when you find these, like, benches or, like, scenic areas where you can sit down and just talk to the character, it does so many interesting things. Oh my god, the fan service, or like, the camera angles, and, like, not necessarily in, like, a gooner way. There are, like, some gooner aspects to some of the camera angles, but, like, a lot of it is just, like, making her seem cute and stuff, and it's very much
sometimes I was gonna say sometimes didn't work for me, because she definitely has a anime voice, which I didn't really vibe with.
Central says we have an interference, but wasn't Betten Tech supposed to be motor-proof?
Yeah, the voice acting is it's fine. It's fine. It's not amazing.
I don't want to replace my...
I feel like the dev also knows a little bit about film or cinematography, because the way, like, the camera will change places to try to not only showcase, like, how your character is going to move platforming-wise, but just the way the camera tilts to emphasize action, or the way it's either overhead or slanted to show off more of the world is very interesting. Whereas if it was just a camera that's solely statically followed behind the character, it would be a very bland game. But the camera... is very dynamic in scenes placed around the platforming, which I think really contributes to setting pace for how the player is going to view the world, which I think is fantastic, and also was another element that accentuated the platforming to me.
A lot of the camera stuff reminds me a lot of Uncharted, when you're doing parkour in like really big set pieces and it zooms out and shows you those set pieces and gives you camera angles and filters and stuff. And yeah, it does so much stuff to like show off the world and not just the character. Because you're in a gigantic world, it has to show off the scale also. Like, you're in a world that wasn't made for you, and you're fighting machines that are the size of skyscrapers. And
let's go, mega structure fans, unites all three of us.
And so I'm so hyped about fighting things that are big, okay? And just like scaling around a world that just wasn't made for me, and it's just massive.
Me too. That's why I fight your mom.
I hope in the demo we don't have anything that big, but I really hope a lot of the combat is gonna do some like Shadow of Colossus stuff.
The dev has confirmed that Shadow of Colossus was an inspiration, so we will be doing Shadow of Colossus stuff. I've seen their Twitter. Yeah. We will be riding the big robots.
Oh my god. Oh, just to say, just to keep it in the recording, I did 100% the demo. I got every single collectible, I did every single cutscene, every optional dialogue tree. I redid the dialogue trees to get every single answer. I got every single stupid little auxiliary robot. I like 100% of this demo. And I gotta say, there's nothing bad about this game so far.
Motorslice. Wishlist now.
Alright, next on the list is going to be Misery. If you've played Stalker, you've played Misery. I mean, I don't mean that in a mean way, but this is very derivative of Stalker. In terms of aesthetic and setting, there is an anomaly that's basically been set off, and there's all kinds of just weird monsters and stuff. There is some kind of like nuclear bomb event or something like that, and it's very low poly PS1 era, but what sets this game apart from others is the base building. So the gimmick is that you have a limited amount of time before the emissions build up too much and monsters come out. I didn't actually get that far in the demo to know what would happen then, because the demo is hard at moments. You have very limited space, but the idea is you go out into the world, do runs, build stuff back to your base, and then you build up your base, decorate it, do what you want to do. And the anomalies can range anywhere from like just the bizarre, where there's a bit where all the trees and light posts are warped like they're building like a physical arch, to I tamed a gnome, and you could build a gnome generator. I don't know what to do with that, but that was there. You know, there's gnomes, like lawn gnomes, and you give them vodka.
Generator?
Yeah, I don't know, but you can gnome it up in the generator. I don't didn't follow through on that path. I was too busy dying to Gopniks, but yeah. The other thing I'll add is at the start of the game, you have to you have like 30 seconds to get everything you can in your house, and then escape to a bunker, and that's the start of the game. If you do not pick up a weapon, you do not start with a weapon. You do not get to buy a weapon, and you have to go out into the world and either find something, or you will just get creamed by any of the bandits you find. It's not that they're hard, it's just that if they have a knife and you only have your fists, you're losing. So if you don't survive that first 30 seconds, you will be fucked, and your run is very difficult. It's very multiplayer focused, it's very lo-fi compared to a traditional Stalker game, but I think its base building and multiplayer co-op elements are going to really, for some reason, make people excited. If you liked something like, if you like extraction shooters, but you also liked stuff where you're just having a goofy time with your friends and fighting weird stuff like in Lethal Company, this is the game for you, but with Stalker Eastern Soviet bloc aesthetics. doesn't take itself very seriously and can be almost like cute at times. Like the way you heal is at campfires, so you want to loot lighters, then you can sit at a campfire, and sometimes you'll find a guitar and you and your friends could sit around and play the guitar and just goof off. It's very light, very pro-social, which is really interesting for a stalker-esque game. Yeah, if you're looking to do something Halloween, it's going to drop. I forget what price it's going to drop, but it's relatively low. So I think this might be perfect for a lot of people looking for something to do with friends. Alright, Skate Story. Skate Story, I think, is, to me, my most hyped game of the year.
The year.
At least it was until, or at least my most hyped game that I'm looking forward to coming out. Although I think Sword Hero actually blew me more away with its demo than Skate Story did. But Skate Story was still fan-fucking-tastic. I longboard in real life, so this is just right up my alley. Aesthetically, it's fucking gorgeous. I feel like the dev went in and played with a bunch of shaders and textures and went, I'm gonna make a game about this. Because it's just so... I mean, this game feels more like an art piece than it does like a game. Like, there's...
Definitely. But the art style, oh my god, the art style. The art style is amazing. It is genuinely amazing.
And the music is good as well. It is like a mix of like rigid falling apart cities and streets. It's very punk in the way that you definitely are skating in areas that you are not supposed to skate. There is like walls that are preventing you from going on, storefront walls basically, and there are signs everywhere telling you that what you are doing is horrific. And I feel like unless you're watching footage of it right now, it's just so hard to describe the sense.
I mean, they are gonna be. I'm gonna put it on screen. They're gonna.
I didn't know if they were watching it like audio only, because that's how I watch YouTube videos. I'll put it in the background and like play like Minecraft or something. But anyway, putting my ADHD on the side, the art style is filled with contrasting shadows and lights, and it's just fucking gorgeous.
And this game just makes me want to like hang it on my wall as like a permanent installation. Just have a screen just constantly playing it, you know?
And we're not saying that it's an art piece because the gameplay is too simple that you play it for the art. You do play it for the art, but there is a pretty good skate system underneath. It's overly simplistic though.
For me, I think I was enamored with the art style and the music design and the like concept of the story, but the longer I played it, the less I was enjoying it, I think. I don't like the gameplay. Yeah, no, this is... my hypothesis going into this was that this was going to be a game where I'd really enjoy watching someone play it and not actually playing it. And the longer I played the demo, I felt like that was more true. Because the gameplay was just kind of... It was fine.
The best way I can describe it, just like real skateboarding, to continue momentum you have to kick off by pressing the A button. The problem is that you lose momentum pretty rapidly unless you're actively kicking, which for someone like me that enjoys these types of games because I enjoy speed, is not necessarily good, because what ends up happening, okay, there's a jump and I want to make the jump. So if you don't press A to kick off at the right moment, you approach the jump kind of slow, and that doesn't feel good. But if you kick too late, you won't have time to actually jump off over the jump, so you end up colliding into the ramp. There's also a few moments where there's literally just a tiny inch of a ramp that you're going sideways at, and that's enough to make you fall off. But I like that because it makes me feel like I'm skating in real life, where I hit a rock or my shoelace got caught in the axle. I flew off the skateboard.
There was a lot of segments where I was just like skateboarding and I would just like explode because I hit something and I wouldn't understand what happened because like there was nothing.
When you jump, there's like a literal, or while you're building up to jump, there's a bar at the bottom that randomly goes in like a circle, and you have to hit it at the right moment to be able to maintain more speed and get more points.
Wait, what?
Which I started getting better at, but it's another mechanic on top that's hard to follow through, which might feel distracting for people. Did you not notice that?
I was wondering what that random loop was every time I jumped.
Yeah, there's a moment that you have to time it perfectly.
I had no idea what it was.
Yeah, it doesn't feel necessarily great to use, and the boss fight at the end, yes, there's boss fights, is easy enough because you can just spam like combos. Yeah, they make you can't spam the same one, but you can still just button mash essentially and rack up massive amount of points without actually putting a lot of effort in. But I started to really enjoy the demo when I redid the demo, went to the freeform area and just started to practice and get better at it. And the more and more I got used to being able to control my momentum, the better and better it started to feel, and I started to enjoy the skating. I just think right now that the balance behind maintaining momentum versus kicking off to start a trick isn't necessarily there, and a lot of players might fall off. But even if you don't like skateboarding, and all those things sound like play it for the fuck art.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, when you crash and you shatter because your body's made of glass, the camera behind the character like comes off of it, whatever, or someone drops it or whatever, you know, it feels like that. Someone drops the camera and the camera rolls on the floor and then comes to a stop. And so you get a bunch of these angles of like just the camera sitting on the floor looking at you like failing or whatever. And it's very cool. It is a very cool effect to have the camera roll on the floor after you die.
Another problem I personally had was the writing. I feel like in a game that is supposed to be as avant-garde as what it's aiming for, the writing and vocabulary that was being used was very simplistic and kind of let me down. There were moments where I felt like the writing was very good. Like one of the ways you get captured in hell is this guy called the Thinker captures you, and the whole gimmick behind him is that he makes you ponder endlessly. There's actually a Greek philosophical idea that in debate, in argumentation, is actually the real point, not to actually come to any conclusion. So the more and more you argue, even it's needless and pointless, the more enlightened you are, and that is what that character tries to get you to do. And there's a moment where it's a statue that's too big to fit in an archway, but the archway is just empty, like it's an archway immediately bricked up, and he's like, I wonder whether I could fit through the wall, but I also wonder if I can make it, but I can't make it through, so I'm just sitting here wondering what's at the other side, but I wonder if I make it through, would that ends what I'm thinking about, or would I continue to think about what could have been? And really kind of exemplifies like the self-wackery that comes with philosophy also comes with. But it's really funny, and he's actually a really fun character in that boss fight, and it's good. I would enjoy it.
Yeah. I think a part of the reason why I liked it less and less is because I did not like the Thinker and the Philosopher. They were just, it's just kind of There was not much going on. It was literally the character thinking about thinking, and that was it. I liked the first half of the demo where it was pondering like the morality of skating, I guess, and like when skating in places you're not allowed to, and like dealing with authority and like rebelling and stuff like that was very interesting to me. That part. And then the first boss fight was very interesting to me. One, because of that. And then the second part, because there wasn't a lot going on in the first boss fight, but it was just very cool looking, and because it was the first one, it was really good. And then the second boss fight was just kind of exactly the same, but now you have access to more combos, but it didn't do anything with that. It just kind of just was more of the same.
So, for better or for worse, the game does not, because there are certain games that'll force you to get good. You can just cop out and, cheese your way through most things, but the benefit of that is if you don't like skateboarding games, or you really struggle, but the art looks really cool, you don't have to worry about actually putting a lot of effort in. You can just kind of, even the skating levels, if you just go straight in a really boring line, you can make it to the end without doing anything fun, which for better or for worse. Which is why my second playthrough I really enjoyed, but my first playthrough I felt was kind of dull.
That was my biggest problem with it, is that it kept adding features and then not using them.
Not demanding that you actually do anything with them.
You could use them, but there wasn't much reason to do so other than just to look cooler.
So hopefully the demo has more.
Game.
I mean, the full game has more and really battens down the hatches. and makes you learn. But aside from that, visually, it's great, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh my god, yeah. I would still like to try more of the game, definitely. I want to see, like, what some of the other bosses are, and if it continues that, like, you know, skater punk aspect of the first half. I'm interested in seeing what more this game has. I'm just not sure I want to be the one playing it, you know?
Everwind is a survival crafting game in the vein of Minecraft, but the gimmick behind this one is that it's got a stronger focus on stuff like dungeon crawling, sort of like how Terraria does, but its world is broken up in a myriad of islands in an ocean and floating islands, and the whole gimmick is that you're supposed to build a ship and then sail that ship around. The problem is twofold. It's both the ship and the combat. The combat is lacking. The combat does that really annoying thing where it doesn't really get interesting until you get a bunch of level ups. So it's just kind of you swinging your sword aimlessly. There are 3 classes, but you can only be the warrior for now. But you just swing your sword aimlessly, and it's not until like level 5 or maybe higher that you unlock the ability to then unlock to parry, which is what makes the combat actually interesting. Or you can put a lot of points into being able to go invisible and stealth archer like in Skyrim, but that also requires points before it's more viable. So the combat is very weak. There's only really one type of enemy, well, 2 types, skeleton with sword and skeleton with bow. And there's not really much you can do about them other than hack and slash them until you get more abilities.
I actually like that. I like when a game fundamentally changes because you leveled up. Gaining the ability to parry is an amazing incentive to level up. But I do agree with you that the combat was just kind of not good before any of the upgrades. But I feel like this demo forgot that it's a demo. And so they did nothing to, like, put in the cool stuff into the demo, you know? As you were saying, like, you don't unlock any of the cool classes. You don't unlock any of the, like, ship upgrading mechanics and building mechanics.
And then the ship, they just give you a ship at the very beginning that's fully built, and you can beat the demo, or at least beat the hardest boss in the demo, without having to actually build the ship. The starting ship is enough room and enough to do whatever you need to build on it. So I didn't really feel inclined to go anywhere further.
I was like, and those were the systems I wanted to interact with most, were ones that were just not there. And everything that's in the demo is just kind of not interesting. Which is, again, I just feel like this demo forgot it's a demo. I feel like they just lopped off the first, like, 5% of the game and threw it in this demo, which is not how you should be doing demos. Especially with, like, an open world game like this that depends a lot on, like, randomly encountering things. It's not, like, on rails. I feel like you have to curate the experience for demos sometimes, especially in this, like, open world. Like, I think it was generating the world as you were going, but I'm not too sure about that. But there was just, on paper, there's a lot of cool things about it, but I just didn't encounter them or didn't have access to them, and so I just kind of had nothing interesting to say about this, other than that there was nothing there.
The thing about the survival crafting genre is that it's very reductive. It borrows a lot from other games, but then doesn't do anything interesting. So maybe you'll have a game like Minecraft where you can chop trees and build a house, but beyond why you're doing that, there's not really anything else to it. So the question becomes, why aren't I playing some of those other survival games instead of playing this one?
The thing you brought up specifically is that, like, with a lot of these survival crafting, like, voxel games, like, you are just constantly wondering, like, why am I not just playing modded Minecraft instead? And this game has promise. From what I saw in the trailers and, like, the material and, like, how you build up and upgrade the airships, I'm really excited about that. It looks very cool. It's just the demo itself just had nothing. But I think this is a game I'll come back to.
I just don't think the demo really showcased its full strengths. So I really want to talk about it because I think Everwind is worth focusing on and paying attention to, especially at release. I just wish the demo did more to showcase that. Okay, so I think that covered everything that we really wanted to talk about. There were a few other things that either didn't really fit the spirit of Steam Next Fest, or were games that we think are worth talking about, but not enough to go into in depth. So these are going to be our honorable mentions. These are games that had flaws, but are still worth checking out. So the first one I think is going to be the Legend of Khiimori, spelled Kiimori. It is a Mongolian delivery simulator. So the idea is you playing as a Mongolian girl who is a courier delivering packages in this giant open world Mongolian steppes. It is very pretty, or at least the world design is, but it doesn't look that great at the moment. It's very clunky, but I think what they're aiming for is fantastic, and I'm excited to see more of it.
I don't have much to say about it because I didn't enjoy it, but it is a German game. And you can tell it's a German game because the second you open the game, there's 70 different buttons. Okay, you have temperature, health, stamina, food, water, mood. There's like a balancing mechanic where you can fall off the horse. There's horse breeding mechanics where you can take like genetics from certain horses and like give them better stats by breeding them. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's a crazy German game. That's all.
It's a Strand type game.
It's a Strand type game. Exactly, yes.
Hey, get on it, nerds. All right, Valor Mortis. What did you think? I never got around to actually playing it, which bummed me out because this is right up my fucking alley.
Valor Mortis is a game from a studio I like a lot. I can't remember what the name is of the studio. It's their third game. They do a lot of first-person melee, and this game is doing first-person melee, but very differently than their last two games. This game is attempting to do a Souls-like in first-person. It has a lot of pairing mechanics. It has a lot of things you expect from like a Sekiro. It's very hard. There's really not much to say about it. It's just a Souls-like in first-person, which surprisingly doesn't change that much about the game. It's kind of another Souls-like. It's good. I enjoyed it. I'll play more.
It's also zombie magic Napoleonic War. So, you know, that's a setting we haven't seen before. I want to see more people talk about the brutality of the Napoleonic Wars. Everyone thinks it's just sitting in a line because they're posh douchebags. Yeah. There were posh douchebags, but it was far more brutal than that. I feel like the game showcases that. Next on the list is, I'm going to jump to Ship Miner. Ship Miner wasn't in the Steam Next Fest, but there is a demo for it. I really enjoyed it. It's just a lo-fi asteroid mining game. You can probably beat the whole demo in about 30 minutes as a run. It's like a roguelike. It's really cute. It's really fun. If you want to learn more, I did interview the dev on my channel, so that's why I'm not going to talk about it too much here.
I wanted to talk a little bit about Paraside. It's playing into a lot of the like Final Fantasy Tactics X, like gameplay, I feel, and there's a lot of like turn-based square moving. I don't know how to just explain it, which was not very fun. The gameplay was kind of like really boring, but what has me hyped about this game is it is extremely pretty. Oh my god, it is beautiful, and all the art and the drawings and the anime girls, oh my god. I'm excited to see what this full game looks like. I'm not sure it'll be fun, but it is very interesting, at least.
I want to talk about Cairn. Cairn is... It's not QWOP, but if someone took QWOP and made it going up a mountain like you're rock climbing, where you have to control the individual limbs of the rock climber, but you can also type in pittance to make it easier and you have a limited number, that's Cairn. It's really cool of a concept. I feel like it needs way more polish, but it's definitely worth keeping an eye out for. Yeah. The diegetic menu for your inventory is fantastic and super cute.
Yeah, it definitely has promise. The problem I had with Cairn is that it defaults to, it even suggests that you use the automatic like limb selection feature. And when you try to switch to the manual mode, it even tells you to not do that. The automatic mode for selecting limbs is really bad. It'll select the limbs for no discernible reason, and so I just played in manual mode and I had such a better time. It's a good game. It's a very good game. It just, the suggestion it made was the worst suggestion it could make, possibly.
And then you want to talk about Rubinite?
Yes, Rubinite. Rubinite is very interesting. It's a very pretty game. The game opens with like a 4-minute cutscene of like vivid interpretations, like artistic reinterpretations of like trauma the character goes through, essentially. It's like there's like some evil witch with like powers that like burns down a kingdom, and you're like this little girl who escapes, and you have to like fight back and fight the witch. Oh my god, it is pretty. But then the combat was also fun. It's very complex, very skill based, very hard. Oh my god.
Paris, you're responsible for the outro.
Oh,
my title
God.
card is I'm Rex with the Paper Prototypes podcast. I interview developers. He'll put all the links in the description. Thank you for doing all the heavy lifting.
I don't know how to outro. I have no idea.
All the souls you've been
This is Paris, and
associate finished.
check out the links in the description for Rex's interviews and his channel and stuff, and links for Ko-Fi and Patreon and Discord and all of the above.
Thank you for tuning in. We will talk to you until the next Steam Next Fest. Hopefully we'll have something better presented and put together next January. We put this together last minute. I apologize. Thank you.
Definitely try out some of these demos. There's a lot of them that are really fun and enjoyable to play. Don't forget to wishlist them. It helps the developer a lot if you do that, and I really want these games to come out and get more support, so do that. Do it now. Do it now. Bruh. Give me... bad timing. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
I thought I was on a roll with that intro.
Also, I'm dying, so I can't talk anymore today.